Hello, hello, hello. Once again, it is I, your ever-loving Mr. Cinema Junkie, with a couple of things on my mind. Well, one main thing, really. Just finished watching a movie, very interesting flick, out of Serbia, called Death of a Porno Gang, or Life and Death of a Porno Gang. Either way, I'm not going to do a review on it, not just yet, anyway. If you want to see a review for this, go check out Chris, aka Mr. Ramon420. He just did a review on this movie. It was a very interesting flick, I have to say. Still kind of on the fence on whether I like Serbian film or this one better. Uh, but it made me think of a couple of things, and I know at certain times the subject has come up, but I don't think I've actually brought up the discussion, not on my channel anyway, about snuff films. Snuff films, do they exist? Do they not exist? What do you think? A lot of people would argue that snuff films do exist and that they are on uh, the internet as far as like beheading videos, execution videos. To an extent, I can kind of agree, but by its legal definition, those are not snuff films. The legal definition we have, at least here in America, is that a snuff film depicts the murder of a person on video. They are alive at the beginning, they're dead at the end, without use of special effects, and, there's the big and, the video was made for the sole purpose of financial gain. Without all those elements, it is not a snuff film. If I were to lose my mind one day and become a serial killer and decide to videotape myself murdering someone, a lot of people would say that is a snuff film, and I would agree with that. But if I did it just because I wanted a souvenir of my actions, then by its legal definition, it is not a snuff film because I did not do it for financial gain. I didn't try to sell it and market it. And that's where the argument comes in, is that snuff films don't exist, because who would make a movie like that and then try to market it? You couldn't market something like that. At least that's what they say. I'm of the belief that there's a market for anything and everything. I have seen pretty much every dark, depraved, twisted thing you can imagine committed to video. So I have a very hard time believing that there isn't a market for snuff films. Things are only made because there's a market for them. Maybe I should do this video later. I'm so tired. 6 in the morning. Can't stop the yawning. But I have this thought in my mind, so let me just roll with this from here. Sorry. I believe anything is marketable. I mean, we have videos of bestiality, scat, necrophilia. Well, fake necrophilia, but they wouldn't put that in there if there wasn't some kind of morbid interest in it. I have yet to see any real necrophilia committed to video. But it exists. It has to exist. So, having said that, I believe there is a market for snuff films. There are people out there. Because if there wasn't an interest in seeing someone dead or dying on video, the shockumentary market would have dried up a long time ago. As soon as Mondo Cane or Faces of Death came out, someone would have said, well, more so Faces of Death. Mondo Cane wasn't that over the top. But as soon as Faces of Death hit, it would have been shut down, and everyone would have been like, what, are you crazy? You can't put that on video? So There is a fascination with death that people have, and there are some people who are even a little more so than just morbidly curious. They just have that need to see somebody dead. And since they probably don't have the stones to do it themselves, they have a video made of it. Maybe some people pay to actually do the killing on tape. Who knows? A lot of bodies turn up in Mexico. I can't believe all of them are just out of pure hatred for women. You know, these are a lot of people turning up in these body pits. Yeah, sure, some are drug cartel and stuff like that, but before that, there were all these women showing up, just showing up dead. And I can't believe somebody didn't market off of that. I mean, I refuse to believe that somebody didn't try to market that somehow to someone, some rich tourist somewhere who paid someone there to murder someone, to have like a safari but for humans. You know, maybe they didn't commit it to film, but I know there's people out there who are fascinated with what it's like to kill or to murder or something like that. I believe that places like in the movie Hostel, I believe places like that exist. I'm sure there's a place where if you spend enough money, you can get the thrill of killing someone or doing whatever you want to that person. So, snuff films. Strong subject. It's a fascinating subject. Usually, if a movie deals in snuff films, I'm usually going to watch it because it is an interesting subject to me. And yes, I do believe they exist. And I don't think it's right to just categorize a snuff film as being made for financial gain, but I guess it kind of separates, things like it keeps from undue glamorization of things that really aren't snuff films, like the stuff that Al Qaeda would do with the beheading videos. Those are political videos. Those are scare tactics, and I wouldn't label them snuff films. Except that at some point in time, they were bootlegging those snuff films and selling them on the open market in Iraq for a while. And what was the money going for? Was it going back to the terrorists? Well, if the terrorists were making these and knowing they could market them, wouldn't it then, by then, be legally called a snuff film? If they were making them and marketing them somehow? Why anybody would buy that on the open market there is beyond me. But because they were putting the stuff out there for people to see, so that they would learn either to follow or to obey. So why market it? I don't understand that. But I honestly do believe that they exist. Now, is there a circle of people or a dark underground or something like that? I don't know. I can't even begin to imagine. Could it be just one or two or three people who do this that nobody knows about, but they do make these videos somewhere? Why haven't they turned up yet? Why aren't they on the internet? You can find everything on the internet if you look. Anything. If you type in the right key phrases, you can find anything. But a snuff film, a bona fide snuff film, according to the law, has not been found. With that, I have to totally disagree. Because as far as I'm concerned, I don't know how many people have seen this video. I don't know how many people want to see this video or have heard anything about it, but it was labeled Three Men and a Hammer. And it depicts the murder of a man by young guys. And they beat him to death with a hammer. They stab him with a screwdriver. And this was not the only murder they committed. They committed somewhere upwards of 23, 24 murders, where they would just blindside somebody, bash them in the head, and then just go to work on them, start beating them to death. Some were women, some were men. I believe there were some children involved. And one woman was pregnant, and they cut her child out of her. So these guys were truly sick individuals, and somehow one of their videos that they made, they were making these videos as souvenirs, I guess. I don't think they were trying to market them. At least that's not what I read. I didn't read anything about marketing them or trying to sell them to anyone. But one video that was on their phone, someone leaked it to the internet, and that became the infamous 3 Men and 1 Hammer video. I don't particularly care if it was made for financial gain or not. To me, it served no purpose. It had no political agenda. It had no message, per se. It didn't carry any kind of nothing. There was nothing to it other than some sick individuals who wanted to murder somebody and had murdered people before for their own amusement. For me, for all intents and purposes, that is a snuff film. It's kind of like the little rule that all words have to have a vowel in them. Follow me on this one. All words have to have a vowel. A vowel is used in every word. They told us that ever since we were kids. And then you say, well, what about words like Y, W-H-Y? Oh, well, sometimes Y is a vowel. A-E-I-O-U, and sometimes Y. Why sometimes? Because if it wasn't sometimes, then it would just break its own rule. So why hasn't this been called a snuff film? Because then it would break the rules as to what a snuff film is. Because it was not made for any financial gain. And that, if they were to say, yes, that could be categorized as a snuff film, then they'd have to admit that a snuff film exists. Then they'd have to admit, if this snuff film exists, maybe there are others that exist that we don't know about. Too many bodies turning up in one area with nobody has been caught or arrested for that. I'm talking about the bodies in Mexico. And you're telling me that somebody didn't commit at least one of those deaths to video? They just keep it well hidden. They keep it to themselves, or they show it to a select number of people. They don't forward it to everybody. Maybe they committed it to DVD, and then they have private showings of that video. I don't know. But I'm having a hard time believing that this one thing comes to light, and it's the only time ever that anyone ever committed murders to film. I mean, there was a documentary not too long ago about those two killers that would torture their victims and kill them, but they would videotape while they had them tied up and stuff. But they never show anything other than that, so I don't know if they ever show video of them killing them or not. I'd be surprised if there wasn't video of that. I know of a video, I've heard of a video, never saw it, but I heard of a video where a man and woman had just got married, and the woman's sister, I believe, her younger sister, her bridesmaid, was at their house the night they got married. And then, I don't know if drinking took place or drugs were involved or what, but it turned into a whole thing where they sexually assaulted her sister and videotaped everything, and he wound up choking her and killing her. And I have to find the link to that story for you. But you know, if they recorded it, they videotaped it, and apparently that video's been destroyed, but if they videotaped it and killed her on it, I mean, regardless of any money exchanging hands, that in all its, for whatever reason, I consider that a snuff film. So basically, I just want to know what everybody else out there thinks. Do you believe in snuff films? Do you think they exist? What have you seen that you would say qualifies as a snuff film? Um, was it the Three Men, One Hammer video? Was it something else that you saw? Uh, if you never saw anything like it, if you never saw a snuff film and you had the opportunity to see one, would you? Would you see it just one time to say, yeah, I've seen one before? It's one of those things to kind of think about. Like I said, it's a random thought of mine, and the whole, I've been reading about snuff films and seeing movies based that had snuff films involved in them. So it kind of got me thinking. So there you have it. Comment below what you think of this. Video responses are always welcome. Snuff films. Do you think they exist? If they exist, would you watch one? That's basically my question. I, for one, I do believe they exist. Would I watch one? After I've seen Three Men and a Hammer, I believe I have seen one. And it's probably not something I ever want to see again, really. Thanks, guys, for watching. Always appreciate it. Sorry for the yawning again. I'll be sure to get more rest next time before I make a video. Thanks.